This was the moment when Raven's life came crashing down on her. Her home is destroyed, her friends have been turned into stone corpses, and worst of all, she's all by herself with the most sinister man in her life, Slade. But here's the kicker, she's only 16 years old here. But we'll get back to this moment later. Raven was always the character I personally identified the least with, but yet she was always the most intriguing. By covering Raven's story, not only do I think we'll better understand her as a character, but also explore a series of episodes that ruined a lot of people's childhoods. With that being said, this video contains mature topics that may not be suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Rachel Roth, better known as Raven, is a half-human hybrid that specializes in magic and sorcery. If you ask me, she'd be a perfect guest character in an episode of Billy and Mandy, or Invader Zim. Making fiends? Anyone? Residing from the dimension of Azarath, Azar, the spiritual leader of the temple, would teach Raven important life habits such as pacifism and meditation, all of which she still uses that would mold her into the hero that she is today. Which now brings us to where Raven's story picks up in the episode, Birthmark. Dr. Light is causing chaos at an oil rig and is able to put up a decent fight against the Titans. Using his highly concentrated light blast, he is able to damage Cyborg and Starfire, but is then knocked back by Robin and Beast Boy, only to then encounter Raven, who quickly puts his lights out.
Remember me?
I'd like to go to jail now, please.
After dealing with Dr. Light on a late night, the Titans are eager to head back to the tower to enjoy some donuts. Except for Raven. While the Titans are ready to celebrate the night, she is ready for it to be over. This confuses the Titans and leads them to ask, why? Well, back at Titan Tower, we see Raven sitting in her room watching as the time ticks away. She cannot wait for the day to be over, as it's only 6 p.m. Something about tomorrow is clearly bothering Raven, and it gets to the point where she becomes restless. Suddenly, she hears a strange knock at the door.
Hello?
Not knowing who it's from, she exits her room. It seems as though the other Titans have disappeared. Something's not right here, guys. She makes her way to the living room, and before she knows it...
Raven?
It's Raven's birthday, y'all. Who knew? You can tell that the Titans put thoughtful effort into throwing this party, as they not only surprised her, but also made a cake. Even Starfire made her homeworld famous Throcknar. All these years later, I still don't know what a Throcknar is. But here's the thing, Raven is surprised, but it's not because they threw a party under her nose. She's surprised that they even knew about her birthday to begin with, which she didn't tell anybody. It would take Beast Boy essentially having to go on the dark web to find clues to discover when her birthday was. Despite the effort that the Titans put behind all of this, Raven is clearly bothered and uninterested. But the Titans are still insistent on celebrating. I mean, after all, they have games to play, a Beast Boy shaped piñata to smack, and a birthday cake. And that settles it. You know, for Raven to be this adamant on not celebrating her birthday, there's clearly something about it that we and the Titans are not aware of. And that's what prompts Robin to do some digging. He goes to Raven and asks her the natural question of, what's wrong?
Just trust me. If you knew anything about the day of my birth, you'd know there's nothing to celebrate.
Raven cannot wait for this night to be over, but unlucky for her, time is dragging as only 3 hours have passed by. To occupy her mind, Raven decides to meditate for the remaining hours. All she has to do is get to midnight, but as she meditates, something strange happens. It seems that Raven was troubled by a strange vision as a strange symbol appeared in her room. A lot of strange things seem to be happening here, and I don't think it's a coincidence being that it's on Raven's birthday. Robin immediately attends to Raven's distress, but before she can explain to him what happened, they are interrupted by trouble going on at a Jump City factory. So, I'm starting to see a pattern here. The Titans try to persuade Raven to celebrate, denied. Robin tries to get answers from Raven, denied. Robin checks up on Raven's distress, denied. Why? That seems to be the biggest question here. But funny enough, when one question is asked, another appears as the Titans come across a foe that they are definitely not surprised to see at all.
It's been a long time, hasn't it, Titans? A month? A year? A millennium? Far too long for my tastes, anyway.
Before we have any time to ask questions, Slade goes on the attack, but for some reason, he bypasses all of the other Titans and targets Raven. She dodges it, and the fight is on. After some back and forth exchanges, Slade quickly deals with each Titan using his mysterious abilities.
Take my word for it, Robin. You shouldn't play with fire.
Coincidentally leaving Raven to fight him all by herself.
I think we both know this day is far from over. Hello, birthday girl. Ready for your present?
However, Raven wants none of it and blasts Slade away with an attack.
I have a message for you.
This has no effect on Slade, and he proceeds to do the following.
What you have concealed, you shall become. You have no other choice. Your destiny will be fulfilled.
Time out for a sec. If Slade really was dead, then how is he here in the flesh? Why does he have the ability to firebend all of a sudden? And why is he impervious to pain? So many questions, such little answers. Well, whatever he did to her clearly was by design. When she looks at her wrists, not only is her clothing torn, but also the same symbol that appeared in her room and on Slade's forehead is now on her. This moment here seems to kickstart something that Raven is not ready for.
It has begun.
Okay, so not only does he have the ability to firebend, but also can control electricity? Yeah, I'm starting to think that Slade has been recruited by the Fire Nation. Yeah, Cartoon Network was probably like, yeah, this is the closest Avatar is ever gonna get to our network, so enjoy it while you can. But anywho, Slade's electrical powers completely destroys the factory and seemingly puts all of the other Titans in danger, especially Robin. All Raven has is a split second to react to the chaos unfolding. What can she do in this moment? With an emphatic no, a blue hue covers the place as nothing is able to move. Not the objects, not the Titans, not even Slade. Or so we would think.
You might be able to stop time, birthday girl, but you can't stop me. All this time I had no idea the power lurking inside you, the glorious destiny that awaits. It's always the quiet ones, isn't it?
Now, this right here is one of the coldest lines that Slade can give. And with this exchange, it gives us a bit of insight as to why all of these events are happening on Raven's birthday. He claims that there is an immense power lurking in Raven that she hasn't fully tapped into. What that power is, we're not quite sure yet.
You've known this all your life. It is going to happen. And no matter what you wish, no matter where you go, no matter how you squirm, there is nothing you can do to stop it.
No matter how many times I watch this scene over again, I I freeze up and my heart begins to race, just like it did when I was a kid. Raven feels like a mouse being hunted not by a cat, but a lion. Which is interesting because this lion can devour Raven at any moment, but he doesn't. Why? Well, I'm led to believe that if Slade was working on his own behalf, then I think he already would have pulled the trigger, but since he's not, I'm now led to believe that he's working for a higher power. What that higher power is, of course, we don't know yet, but this higher power seems to know Raven better than she knows herself. Oddly enough, they don't want to hurt Raven, they just want her to comply. But of course, that's not what she does. Instead, she fades through the wall to escape Slade and takes Robin with her. They leave the factory and traverse through the streets of Jump City. With danger gone, Robin takes the opportunity to ask Raven some important questions.
What is going on? Why is Slade back? Where did he get those powers? How did you stop time?
Raven has no idea. All she knows is that it's her birthday and she needs it to be over. However, Slade wants to make sure this day isn't forgotten about. Robin, though, has something to say about that with his fist. With each kick and punch thrown, Slade stumbles back, but like an undead zombie, it has no effect on him. Slade responds back not with words, but with a blaze of fire.
I have a message for you, and I will deliver it, whether you like it or not.
No amount of magic that Raven uses is enough to stop him. He suddenly appears from behind and grabs a hold of her again. Not only does more of her clothing tear, but more of the symbols we saw earlier appears on her arms. At this point, I'm sure Raven is well aware that she can't stop what Slade and this higher power is planning. But what she can do is buy herself time.
Robin!
She then tends to Robin, in which they find refuge at a nearby church. Here, Raven gives some insight into what her birthday brings about.
When I was born, they looked into my future. On this day, the anniversary of my birth, something is supposed to happen. Something very bad. That's why I didn't want to celebrate. But just because you don't have a party doesn't mean it's not your birthday.
Now, this doesn't really progress what we, the viewer, already know about her birthday, but it definitely confirms what we already thought. Slade once again makes his presence known and sets the place ablaze. Raven escapes again by flying away. But here's the thing, Slade can do that too. Firebending, electricity, invincibility, and flying? I'm really starting to question what Slade can't do. Probably still can't defeat Batman, I guess. But anywho, Raven zips and zooms through the blue void that is Jump City. With Slade on her tail, she uses things like cars and even buildings to stop him, which seemingly works, giving Raven a moment of relief. Yeah, no, I lied. That does nothing, and Slade proceeds to tackle her on a nearby skyscraper. He then gets a hold of Raven.
What you have concealed, you shall become. You have no other choice.
The message will be delivered. Your destiny shall be fulfilled.
Wait. Where have I heard that before?
What you have concealed, you shall become. You have no other choice.
Your destiny shall be fulfilled.
This absolutely confirms that Slade is on one accord with the higher power. But besides that, this scene was extremely hard to watch. It seems like every time Slade gets to Raven, his sole mission is to tear more of her clothes off, with the obvious reason being to expose more of these rune-like symbols on her, as now they appear across her back. But of course, she's no match for Slade. It's here where we get a chilling visual. All Raven can do now is look up and see Jump City turn from a cold blue tundra into a red-hot furnace. The city is destroyed, and Titan Tower is submerged in lava. But most horrific of all, the citizens of Jump City, as well as the Titans, are turned into stone corpses. As I look at what's become of Jump City, it makes me realize that Slade's statement earlier wasn't just some cryptic mumbo jumbo. It was a warning. Raven is in disbelief with what she's seeing, but Slade insists that this is her destiny. This is what the world will become. It is at this moment where the message that Slade has been trying to send to Raven is loud and clear. Raven will destroy the world. The city returns to normal. With the moonlight at its brightest, we're left with Slade holding Raven. She's broken, tortured, and has no energy left to fight. As the symbols disappear on her, Slade dumps her off the building and has one last message for her.
Oh, and a happy birthday.
As she descends from the sky, Robin appears just in time to catch her. The nightmare is over. For now. Raven finally returns home and seems to be back to her normal self. Her hair is at normal length and is in fresh clothing. There's a noise at the door, and she looks worried. Maybe her nightmare isn't over after all. She immediately goes outside and sees the arrows on the floor that seems to lead to the living room. She makes her way down the hallway, and before she knows it,
surprise?
Look,
I guess the Titans just can't help themselves. Now, you would think after a nightmare of a birthday that Raven had to endure, the last thing she'd want to do is celebrate, right? Right?
Wrong!
We're going to need ice cream. Coming right up.
I'll cut the cake.
And I shall fetch the Throcknar.
After the night she's had to deal with, I think she realizes she'd rather celebrate her birthday than to run from it. So they do just that. Robin approaches Raven, and not only does he apologize to her for what happened, but also makes a promise to her.
We will find Slade. We'll figure out how he did what he did and why he was after you. But right now, you're safe.
No, this was just the beginning.
As if things couldn't get worse, we are then taken back to Slade's lair. He kneels before the strange symbol.
The prophecy will be fulfilled.
And the world of mortals shall soon be ended.
This story is far from over. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, so pull out your corner notes. You might be asking yourself, Murray, what was the point of this episode? What does this symbol mean? How is Slade alive? And who is this higher power? Birthmark seems to leave us with more questions than it's willing to answer. But here's the thing. Birthmark was never meant to answer all of these important questions in one go. But if you ask me, these questions, although important, are not what my concern is yet. My concern is in regards to the deeper, even darker story that this episode was trying to tell. On the surface, the episode is about how a darker force pursues Raven to make her realize her destiny to destroy the world. But if you peel back the layers and notice the finer details, I think Birthmark tells an allegorical story for how people become victims of sexual assault. Now, it's of course important to mention that sexual assault is an extremely sensitive and complicated topic that should be given the utmost respect and should never be taken lightly. With that being said, if you're not familiar with SA theory, it's a popular internet theory on Reddit and the wiki fandom that has been present for a couple years now. It is defined like this. Raven is pursued by Slade through the entire episode, but the way in which Slade pursues and interacts with Raven is the equivalent to that of a sexual predator. Everything from its behavior patterns, methods, and tone leans into this idea. Now, if you want to know how sexual predators operate, especially with young teens, hopefully for research purposes, I heavily recommend you watch the documentary Quiet on Set, episode 3 in particular. That episode helped me to create what I view as a 4-step method that seems to line up with Slade's predatory behavior. Now, is the FBI watching this yet? Because I said sexual predator? Well, I hope so, because I could use the watch hours, honestly. The first method of a sexual predator is trust. Before predators can devour their victims, they need to give them a false sense of security and appear as a non-threat. They do this by not only appearing friendly, but also making themselves to be an asset to said person. Now, with the details I just gave, this would make SA theory irrelevant because Slade is absolutely none of these things. He can't be trusted, he isn't friendly, and is the biggest known threat to the Titans. However, there is an exception to be made here. Slade, if nothing else, is familiar. He isn't just some Joe Schmo that the Titans happen to bump into for this episode. No, Slade is what I would call a trusted evil. And just think about this for a sec. If this higher power is trying to get to Raven, why would it need the services of Slade? It could have chosen anybody else, but opted to use Slade. Well, I think that's because this higher power knows that the Titans know Slade. Not only that, this higher power trusts that Slade can get close to Raven in a way that no other person can. Funny enough, it just so happens that one of Slade's methods to getting close to the Titans aligns with the second method that sexual predators use, which is isolation. Most predators know that they can't execute or get away with their crimes if people are around to see. Once the cat is out the bag, you're pretty much a goner. So they avoid this by finding ways to get their victim alone. I can only imagine that they're thinking, shoot, if I can get my victim alone, who's gonna stop me? Every time Slade got to Raven here, they were alone. And although Robin tried to intervene, he pretty much was useless. This isolation tactic worked greatly because, as you can see, Raven visibly looked helpless. The messed up part about this, though, is that Slade didn't initially cause the isolation. It was Raven. She's the one that froze her teammates and the citizens of Jump City. So in a way, Raven did Slade's dirty work for him. Once Slade got Raven alone, he initiated the third step, which was manipulation. All because predators have their victims' trust and privacy doesn't mean that they're fully in the clear. What predators will try next is to make their victims think that their inappropriate behavior and advances are somehow okay. How many stories have we heard of predators introducing their victims to sexual content such as websites, photos, or inappropriate conversation? Well, in this case, Slade constantly manipulates Raven into giving into her destiny. If he can make her believe that her destiny is to destroy the world, then that would justify everything he's done up until this point. And I don't know about you, but Slade in these scenes came off extremely seductive. If not for Ron Perlman's amazing voice work, I would maybe have a different perspective on these scenes. On top of that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how unstoppable Slade was in this episode. With how he was able to supersede time, become invincible, and speak cryptically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he reminded me of the G-Man from the Half-Life series.
Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you. If and when your time comes round again.
A very mysterious figure, but also very sinister. Once Slade saw the opportunity, he executed the last method of a sexual predator: abuse. From the moment that Slade approached Raven, he wasted no time to put his hands on her. Moments like these is where the sexual undertones hit the most. When I think about this episode, This is the image that is forever stamped in my head, as it's the scene I couldn't forget about when I was a kid. Although I didn't quite know what I was watching at the time, I knew deep down that something wasn't right here. I'll go even a step further. This scene absolutely sparked some underlying sexual feelings that I wasn't ready to deal with at the time. I think that's because in these moments, the undertones were subtle enough to where you could overlook them, but obvious to where you felt something. Now, with all that said, I know what you're thinking. Murray, I think you're just reaching for views. You're reaching farther than Michael Jordan in Space Jam. You might say that Slade was chosen because the writers had no other character that made sense. Well, yeah, it may appear that way, but I think deep down, there's a deeper meaning as to why they chose him specifically, outside of familiarity. You might say these scenes weren't meant to be sexual. They were there to reveal the symbol and make Raven see her destiny. I do agree that the scenes were meant to do that, but I also think with how the scenes were shot, that they had very subtle sexual undertones as well. Regardless, you are 100% entitled to your opinion, but if you think I or anybody that believes in this theory is somehow perverting the story, or we're the problem, or we got some freaked up thing going inside of our head, brother, you can meet me outside Weenie Hut Jr.'s and we can get it poppin'. But no, all jokes aside, if you still have some reserve for Slade's behavior, then I don't think you really know who Slade is. Slade, hands down, is one of the most skilled and deadliest assassins to ever grace the superhero genre. But deep down, he may be something far more dangerous than just that. From what the comics suggest, Slade is a certified supervillain, certified pedophile. Say, Slade. I hear you like him young. Now, the thing about Slade is his rivalry with the Teen Titans is very well documented, not just in the show, but also in the comics. However, his reason for hating them is actually tragic. Diving into the Deathstroke Legacy comics, Slade Wilson is the ruthless mercenary that we've come to know him for, as he takes out certain foes in brutal fashion based on certain contracts he accepts. And what better way to continue your legacy than to have one of your children follow in your footsteps? Meet Grant Wilson. Grant Wilson would naturally want to become an assassin, just like his father, but little did he know what becoming one would be like. At a young age, Slade put Grant through some of the most rigorous and intense training sessions that one could imagine. Despite being able to complete them impressively, Slade saw that as underperforming. Grant couldn't just be great, he had to be perfect. Because he felt Grant was missing the mark, Slade would belittle his son. He felt he was too weak, too flawed, and as he described it, an Achilles heel. Grant had to prove to his father that he was a worthy mercenary, whether by hook or crook, and crook he would choose. Grant would seek the help of Hive, a corrupt organization that specializes in training and enhancing mercenaries. This would be the same group that the Titans would fight in the show, better known as the Hive 5. They would provide him with the genetic enhancements he would need to be the assassin his father hoped for him to be, ultimately becoming the Ravager. Here's the thing though, looking the part is one thing, being the part is a whole nother ball game. In Volume 3, Issue 11 of Titans, the Ravager would provoke the Titans into fighting him. The enhancements he took would prove to be useful, as not only would he take out Kid Flash and Aqualad, but he'd also bring Robin to the brink of death. Just as he's about to land the killing blow, suddenly, his heart stops. It seems that the shortcuts that Grant took in life unfortunately cut his life short. Witnessing all of this, Slade holds his son in his arms. It was at this very moment when Slade's hatred for the Titans would last a lifetime. Despite lack of evidence, he would see the Titans as his son's murderers. This hatred carried over to the show and is the sole reason why Slade terrorizes the Titans over and over and over again. After his son's death, Slade would take up a contract that would appoint him the task of taking out the Titans, named the Judas contract. So not only would he take it personally, but it would become just business. Slade on his own, though, wasn't enough to take on the Titans. He needed to take a different approach. Instead of attacking them head on, he needed to attack from within. Which now introduces us to a character like Terra. Following the new Earth timeline, Terra Markov was a young girl who once lived in Markovia, Europe. She was the daughter of Victor Markov, the ruler of Markovia, but it would be exposed that she was his illegitimate child, making her an outcast. With some help, Terra would barely escape Markovia and would then migrate to the United States to start a new life. Years later, Terra would live life on the edge, going to parties and clubbing. All seemed fine until she'd run into Slade. Now, the thing about Terra is she has the power of geokinesis, which means that she can control any and all elements of Earth at will. What makes Terra dangerous, though, is that there is no telling just how powerful she truly is, considering she can create earthquakes and tremors. If given the right circumstances, Terra could possibly destroy the entire Earth. Mind you, this is the same planet that holds Justice League. Let that sink in. Slade very much knows that and approaches Terra wanting her help. There's a slight issue here though. Despite lying about her age here, she's actually 16, but that doesn't stop Slade in the slightest, as he would see her as the perfect candidate to join the Titans. So a partnership is born, and it would be through this partnership where things would go from professional to romantic to sexual. Terra would gain the Titans' trust, becoming a welcome member to the team. However, this would allow Slade to spy on the Titans and eventually plot an attack against them. She'd not only give him the security code to Titan Tower, but she'd also fight against them as Jump City would be taken over. However, Terra would realize that Slade's persuasiveness was actually manipulation. She would sacrifice herself in order to save Jump City, but also would take Slade down in the process, killing him. Slade's story has been retold several times throughout the decades, with major and minor changes happening in between. However, Terra and the Titans' betrayal arc has remained relatively the same throughout. One thing that will never change though is the dynamic between Raven and Terra. No matter how many times you retell Terra's story, at its core, Raven will never trust her. Now, why is that? Is it because Raven's empathetic powers allows her to read the heart, which would make her suspicious of Terra? Well, I think it's because Raven knows a tortured soul when she sees one, because that's what Terra is. Whether it's explicitly shown or implied, Slade had an inappropriate relationship with Terra that leaned sexual, which would make him by definition a pedophile. He not only used her for his own selfish ambitions, but also abused her knowing he could mentally overpower her. Just like her superpowers, her mental state was
a little rocky.
Huh? You know what I mean?
Now, I'm very much aware that this part of Slade's story arc is extremely divisive and controversial. Either you think it's disgusting and completely unnecessary, or you see it as par for the course as to what a supervillain is willing to do to get the job done. That's just it though. I don't think Slade was pursuing this relationship with Terra just because he wanted to fulfill some sick sexual fantasy. At the end of the day, this was about his son. It was about honoring a contract, which might be even more disturbing because he may have viewed all of this as an obligation, a necessity. Slade was willing to stoop to the lowest possible bar just to get back at the Titans. But don't just take my word for it. A close friend and squad mate of Slade's, known as Wintergreen, tried to make Slade realize that he went too far. He has a well-documented history of manipulating those far younger than him for selfish reasons. Throughout his arc, he manipulated his own son, daughter, Terra of course, Robin, and you can add Raven on that list as well. With all that being said, Slade's origins, motivations, and inappropriate relationship with Terra is something that the higher power knows very well. And I'm led to believe that this may be one of the biggest reasons that Slade was chosen in the first place. But I guess time will tell, as we are only scratching the surface of Raven's story. Following Birthmark, several episodes would pass as we then continue Raven's story in the episode, The Prophecy. The episode starts where Birthmark began, with Robin, Beast Boy, and Cyborg watching footage from their encounter with Slade back at the factory. Now, how did they miraculously get surveillance footage from a factory that got destroyed? Plot armor, of course. They're doing everything they can to answer one of the biggest questions in regards to Slade. What does this symbol mean? Unfortunately for them, there are no possible clues to follow that could lead them to an answer. Meanwhile, that same symbol that the boys are trying to decipher is the same symbol that continues to haunt Raven.
Tick-tock, Raven. Time is running out.
I'm not afraid of you.
Silly girl. I'm not the one to be afraid of. You know that.
Raven still fights against this, not believing anything to be true, but Slade and the higher power still persist.
What you have concealed, you shall become.
It's a lie. I won't let this happen. I'll find a way.
Your optimism is really adorable. But you're forgetting one thing, Raven. This is what you were born to do. You were sent here to destroy the Earth.
Your destiny will be fulfilled. The portal must be opened.
After snapping out of her vision, Raven returns to meditation. The thing here though is, Raven is no longer in denial that the event shown to her is her destiny. She just wants to find another solution. Maybe another path that doesn't include the destruction of humanity? Maybe? That's not hard to ask. But it all seems to lead back to this wretched symbol. Suddenly, Robin checks in on Raven and reassures her that they will find Slade. The alarm sounds and both are alerted to make their way to the living room. Here we see Starfire present a drawing with the exact same symbol that has been seen throughout Birthmark. She seems to have an answer for what this strange symbol is, and it's actually very telling.
In the folklore of the Zargak nomads, markings such as these were used as a prelude to the Goulding.
Actually,
A savage ritual that requires all Zargak warriors to consume vast quantities of Bortha worms.
Honestly guys, with her saying that, it makes complete sense now. As it's been made apparent before, this symbol is not of this world. What better place than on the planet that Starfire is from? Which now begs the question, if this symbol is from planet Tamarin, does this in some strange way now make Raven and Starfire related? I mean, just think about it guys, honestly this adds a whole new layer to an already complicated story, because now it allows us to dig into Starfire's story. And with Starfire, I mean, is she secretly a sorceress now? I mean, does she have the same powers as Raven? Are they somehow in collusions now? I mean guys, this honestly adds something. Oh, that's a bunch of baloney.
And it's tofu calzone. My bad.
Well, I guess we still don't have answers yet. They are then alerted on a map that shows an S-shaped symbol that the Titans are very familiar with.
Slade.
As he emerges from the flames like the Terminator again, immediately Slade reminds the Titans about the new upgrades he got, but they seem to be ready this time. Robin quickly gets a hit on Slade and once again proceeds to interrogate him, but this time, Slade just obliges.
Well, let me put your mind at ease. It's called the Mark of Scath, and it's about to become very popular.
What are you?
So this recurring symbol that was first shown in Birthmark is what Slade calls the Mark of Scath? So cool, we now know the name of the symbol, but what we really want to know still is, what does it mean? Why does it give Slade these strange powers? Why does Raven seem to know and not tell anyone? Just from the simple fact that Slade gave us a name leads me to believe that we're gonna get these answers fairly soon. Slade goes back and forth with the rest of the Titans until he runs into Raven. Raven questions why Slade keeps pursuing her and answers with this.
Only what any messenger wants, Raven, for their message to be heard. It's time your friends learned the truth, and if you don't tell them, I will.
As Slade disappears in a fiery blaze, the fire around the Titans grows larger. Destroyed buildings and rubble turn into ash. Meanwhile, Starfire is looking from above and claims to have eyes not only on all of the Titans, but on something else. If you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe for more video essays like this one. Thank you so much. Now back to the essay. Most of the area that the Titans are in is destroyed, except for a library that is strangely unharmed amidst the destruction. It turns out that this is Jump City's oldest library and hasn't been used in decades. The Titans suspect because Slade didn't destroy it that it must be important. And you know it's old because when Beast Boy kicks it, parts of the library fall apart, giving the Titans a big clue. They make their way in, and as expected, the place is a dump. The Titans search through every corner of the library, but find nothing. Just when it seems like their search has ended, the scath mark on Raven's forehead activates a hidden door in the wall, leading further down into the library. As they go deeper down into the depths of it, things start to turn grim. Sculptures of druids surround the empty room, and clearly they've been there for a while. As if things couldn't get stranger, Raven's mark activates crimson rune-like symbols across the room, with the mark of Scath appearing in the center. The sculptures on the wall awaken, with their spirits hovering over the Titans. They have a message to share.
The gem was born of evil's fire. The gem shall be his portal. He comes to claim. He comes to sire, the end of all things mortal.
This ominous message scares Raven and she tries to run away, but is stopped by Robin. Like all of us, all Robin wants are some answers. While we are constantly drip fed those answers, we at least know that one of the names that this higher power goes by is Scath, and this symbol is its portal to Earth. Back at Titan Tower, Raven returns to her room, not just to meditate, but for something a little different.
Trigon Synthos, Karazhan Rakashos Endere, Vasarik Zendrian Azarat, Azarat.
Funny enough, as Raven descends into her path full of ghostly creatures, the rest of the Titans descend further into theirs as well. I assume they're being attacked because they probably had expired library passes. It appears that Scath doesn't want any of the Titans to reach their destination, which means they're on the right track. You know who else is on the right track? My subscribers who have become Murray members. Also, huge shout out to my Murray members. Thank you so much for your support. However, they are greatly outnumbered and there's no telling how far down they have to go. So they have no other choice but to jump. As they quickly pass down each level, Robin catches the Scath symbol on one of the walls, in which they find a passage to go through. Before they can go any further, Robin temporarily stops the creatures dead in their tracks. But the Titans are then put into a deeper dilemma as they have to traverse through several mazes. After some close calls, they fend off the creatures and finally reach their destination. They enter a room with a hand that seems to be holding something. It must be the gem that the Titans have been searching for, but as they take a closer look, the gem isn't there. But you know who is? Slade. It seems like every time they run into Slade, he gets stronger. Fire blast gets hotter, reflexes get quicker, and bodies get thrown farther. The Titans, as it's been a constant theme, are no match for Slade, no matter how hard they try. They're simply slowing down the inevitable. Meanwhile, Raven is still making her way through the portal, but is stopped by a spell of sorts. However, she is determined to pass through. Thankfully, through all of the trials, Raven finally reaches the place that she hasn't been to in a very long time. Azarath. Now, the thing here is, despite Raven's persona and the fact that she uses the name to cast dark spells, Azarath is a bright and welcoming place. Raven calls out through the empty streets, but there's no response. She then finds a dove that seems to lead her to the top of a building with a mysterious golden emblem of a woman with wings. Upon the top of the building is a woman covered in a white robe whom the dove returned to. Now, despite the white robe, as you might notice, this woman is very similar to Raven in appearance. Both have the same color hair, eyes, and matching gems on their foreheads. So with that being said, who is this woman? Well, Raven knows exactly who this is, as she calls her by her name.
Aurelia.
This is Aurelia, Raven's mother. Raven has returned to her place of birth to seek help from her mother on how to stop the prophecy. Aurelia unfortunately isn't able to help Raven as she feels nothing can be done considering it is prophecy. As bad as that is, the part that really got me thinking is what she had to say here.
You forever had the love of your people, Raven, even knowing what you would become, and what that would bring. It was too late for Earth, just as it was too late for Azarath.
What does she mean, what Raven has become? And what exactly happened to Azarath? We are then sent back to Slade, where he has the Titans in his grasp. As he's about to make them suffer more, he is then cut off by none other than Raven. Wide-eyed and covered in marks, Raven reappears in the center of where the Titans thought the gem would be. This is not by accident, as the gem that the Titans were looking for was right beside them the entire time. Raven is that gem. Now, we can't forget that Slade doesn't want to end the Titans. As much as he enjoys hurting them, he just wants the prophecy to be fulfilled. So once Raven appears, he makes his escape.
I'll be sure to give him your regards.
I'm not finished yet.
Or so he thought he would. Raven manhandles Slade in a way that we've never seen before. That's because this one is personal. If you thought that would easily take Slade down though, then you clearly forgot that this isn't just Slade, he's something more. At this point, Slade isn't her biggest worry, it's her friends that are. Back at the tower, things seemingly go back to normal, except Raven finally gives us some answers to questions that have been of interest.
The Ancient Order used the name Scath to protect the true identity of their master. We know him as Trigon.
Are you serious? That's who we're up against?
His cruelty is legendary, even on my world.
Trigon is one of the most powerful supervillains, not just in Teen Titans, but within the DC universe. So much so that he would not only be a well-known enemy to them, but will become a huge threat to the Justice League. What makes Trigon so powerful is the fact that he's an interdimensional demon that has immense strength, and like Raven, wields tremendous magical powers. Oh, and of course, being that he's a demon, he's practically immortal. With this power, not only has Trigon been able to conquer many worlds and dimensions, but he's also slaughtered a lot of people in the process. Although Trigon goes by Scath and many other names, what you need to know is that he is DC's incarnation of the devil. Just like 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8, Trigon is a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. That person he is seeking to devour is Raven. Now, we know that Raven is being used as a vessel so that he can invade Earth, but that still presents us with even more questions to answer. Questions like, why now? Why didn't Trigon invade Earth at a much earlier time? And why does it have to be Raven? Well, buckle up because things are about to go more south than it already has.
But Raven, why you?
Because Trigon is my father.
And you thought Terra had daddy issues? Yes, Trigon is Raven's biological father, and he's back for her. Now, this information may be nothing new to you, but are you truly aware as to how Raven came to be? Well, before we can dive any further into Raven's story, we have to now direct our attention back to her mother, Aurelia, because her story plays a major role in Raven's as well. Before she became Aurelia, Angela Roth grew up in the harsh city of Gotham. If you know anything about Gotham, it is the bottom of the barrel in terms of morality and quality of life. Having faced physical and verbal abuse from her father often, Angela felt lost, broken, and unwanted, so she'd eventually run away from home, hoping to find what she needed most elsewhere. Upon leaving home, she would then join a group of disciples, but this wouldn't be just any group. It would actually be a cult. They would see her as the perfect participant to lead them into worship. However, this cult had ulterior motives. So on that very night, Angela would lead the worship, which would bring forth a man. This man was handsome, charming, and seemed to take Angela's breath away at first sight. This wasn't just any man, however. This man was Trigon. Despite what we've come to know him for, his skin wasn't crimson red, nor did he have his signature red eyes. Ironically, he appeared to Angela like a gift from God. It would be on this night where Trigon would take Angela as his bride, but before they would do the devil's tango, Trigon would finally reveal his true form to her. He would then proceed to brutally assault her. It turns out, this wasn't a service of worship, it was a summoning of a roaring interdimensional lion. After the assault, Angela would have to bear the child of Trigon. All hope seemed lost for her, as the only group that seemed to care for her stabbed her in the back. With all things considered, I can only imagine the dilemma that Christian homeless shelters would have been in if they knew Angela's baby daddy was Satan. Also, let's remind ourselves, she's in Gotham City, so she's not getting help from anyone not in a mask. With all of her options running thin, Angela would take sleeping pills in an attempt to take her own life. Even still, in Gotham City fashion, no one would help Angela in her time of need. Except for one. Instead of dying, Angela is taken to the interdimensional temple of Azarath. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Azarath is a bright and welcoming place, but that isn't just an appearance, it's in lifestyle as well. The priestess known as Azar, whom the dimension is named after, would take Angela under her wing. The only difference this time would be that there would be no ulterior motives. Azar would completely change Angela from the identity she once had. Not only would she change her name to Arella, which means messenger angel, but she'd also be taught things like pacifism and meditation. Most important of all, she would be nursed to full term and give birth to Rachel, aka Raven. It's almost as if Satan came to kill, steal, and destroy everything that Arella had, but then God came and restored everything that was taken from her. All the events that transpired would happen long before the creation of the Titans, but it brings us to this moment with Raven now. In the beginning of this essay, everything I had said about Raven is true. She is a half-human sorceress who has learned the arts of Azarath to do good, but being that her father is Trigon, she also is half-demon, which means that she is capable of doing evil. Everything from her dark cloak, her gray skin, and her morbid personality indicates this. Also, get a load of this. Have you ever wondered how she got the name Raven? Well, Raven the animal, depending on the region, has major significance on a cultural and spiritual level. For example, in Norse mythology, ravens were believed to hold wisdom and insight, as they were used as Odin's extra set of eyes to see the world. That sounds a lot like Raven when you consider that she is the wisest member out of all the Titans. And the writers must know this when you consider that in the episode Haunted, Raven uses her powers to literally see from the perspective of Robin when he suffers from deadly hallucinations of Slade. However, as most of us perceive ravens today, they can also symbolize things like death, destruction, and judgment. When you go outside and see an absurd amount of ravens cooped up in a parking lot or flying in the sky, do you get a bit nervous or concerned? like something bad is about to happen? I'm gonna be honest, I certainly do. I think that's because their jet black fur and haunting call gives off this vibe of darkness and misfortune. Not to mention, ravens are well known for feeding on dead carcasses. Essentially, when a raven appears, bad things happen. I can't help but feel this way towards Raven. On one hand, she has redeeming qualities, but on the other, she represents a bad omen. It's this complex battle of good versus evil where I think Raven will have to choose a side. Also, sorry for the huge zoology lesson, but this is literally the thought process that I think goes into making a character like Raven, this type of complexity. Trigon knew all along that he needed a human vessel in order to take over Earth. The Azarathians knew of Trigon's power and planned to use Raven to take over Earth, but it is at this point where Trigon's plan and Raven's resilience are about to collide. With Trigon, Orella, and Raven's backstory now being flushed out, there are still plenty of questions left unanswered. Questions like, how is Slade alive if he's even dead? And why has Trigon chosen him as a helper in all of this? Well, we get a hint at why that is in the next scene where Slade is speaking with Trigon.
The portal has accepted her fate.
You serve me well, Slade. Continue to please me, and I shall honor our deal. I shall return what you have lost.
I am depending on it.
And the episode comes to a close. Now, unlike the Birthmark episode, the prophecy set the groundwork for why things are happening the way that they are. I understand that since the show was aired on Cartoon Network, that they obviously couldn't show a lot of the dark events that happened in the comics and movies. However, as you saw, some of it was hinted at in this episode. If you believe SA theory to be true, I find it not a coincidence that Raven's mother was a victim of SA, which will make Raven a rape child. Then you top that with Slade's questionable past and how he pursued Raven. This is all connecting into something that I hope you're ready for. After the prophecy, several episodes would pass in which things would appear normal for the Titans. New villains would appear, and the Titans would handle them as expected. But what do you get when Trigon's plan for world domination comes closer? Well, you get the beginning of the end, part 1. In part 1 of the episode, The End, it starts with a shot of the sun rising over the library. Underneath it is the deepest depths of hell, where Slade is ready to do Trigon's will. With the morning now here, and her marks illuminated, Raven knows exactly what this day means. As she gazes over the ocean at the top of Titan Tower, Robin meets her up there as well. Despite Raven knowing what the day holds, Robin is living in ignorant bliss as he sees the sunrise as a new day of hope.
I love sunrise. The promise of a new day. Anything's possible.
You always so cheery this early?
Pretty much.
God bless his soul. Instead of telling him the bad news, Raven makes the day worthwhile by doing something that she's never done before. She makes breakfast, if you want to call it that. Now, unless Raven has been reading from the Chum Bucket cookbook, I would say when it comes to cooking, it's probably best that she sticks to casting spells. Like, my goodness, even her pancakes are demonic looking. But hey, it's the thought that counts. I mean, even though it looks like she murdered Clayface, took his remains, and slapped them on a pan. But I digress. Even the Titans are confused by this nice gesture, but since she insists, they somewhat give it a try. Thankfully, they're saved by a damsel in distress. Plasmus is busy wrecking Jump City until the Titans arrive to stop him. What's interesting here though is, while it seems like the Titans have their hands full, Raven is actually relieved that it's just Plasmus. Given the hell that she's had to endure, it's understandable how a familiar face in Plasmus would drop her guard. Soon after the honeymoon phase, things get sticky, but Raven puts Plasmus down. Afterwards, Raven offers to go get pizza. Once again, despite everything she's been through, Raven is in good spirits, to the point where even Robin calls it out.
You're awfully quiet.
Just enjoying hanging out with my friends.
Next, they walk through the park until something catches her attention.
Dude!
It's just a penny. For someone who's trying to enjoy the day, she's awfully jumpy. Cyborg then offers to play a game of extreme stankball, and shockingly enough, she's willing to play. So let me get this straight. She makes breakfast, offers pizza, and is willing to play stankball. Raven is doing things she'd normally say no to, and it basically is throwing the other Titans for a loop. I mean, aside from the episode Nevermore, this is the most emotionally expressive that we've ever seen Raven, but why is that? Well, what happens next gives us that answer. Suddenly, the sun is eclipsed, and the day turns to night.
What's going on?
Raven! It's happening, isn't it?
Please, Raven. Today is the day. It is
the end of the world.
The time has come. Raven isn't happy because she has a refreshed outlook on life. She's acting happy because she thinks these are the last moments that she'll spend with the Titans. However, it's not all doom and gloom just yet, as the Titans in no way are just gonna let Trigon come in and take the place over. He's gonna have to go through the Titans before he gets to Raven. Ever since that day Slade attacked the Titans, they have been preparing a secret room for Raven that she could stay in for safety. Honestly, if it wasn't for the Titans, I don't know where Raven would be right now. Even with the contingency plan, I don't think the Titans know exactly what they're up against in Trigon, as Raven tries to make them realize.
Trigon isn't a villain. He is the incarnation of evil, the source of all darkness,
Okay, bad dude, we get it.
No, you don't. You don't know Trigon.
The Titans reassure Raven, though, that Trigon will not be successful. We'll see about that. Before leaving, Beast Boy gives Raven a little something extra for good luck. Meanwhile, Slade and Trigon are ready to commence the next step of the prophecy. Hundreds, if not thousands of fiery beasts rise from below, and all that is left is for Slade to bring Trigon the portal, aka Raven. As the Titans monitor Raven, she meditates in her new room, but as she does, she goes back and forth in her mind on whether the Titans can truly take down Trigon. Of course, in a fashion that only he can execute, Trigon invades Raven's thoughts.
There is no stopping what is about to happen. This is the reason I sired you. You were born so I could rule the Earth.
What if I don't let you? What if I don't become the portal?
It is not your place to tell me what to do.
By far, this is the most vivid vision that Raven has experienced, as it feels like she's actually fighting Trigon here. Trigon insists that Raven doesn't have a choice in this, no matter how hard she fights. Just as a reminder, Trigon is a man that takes what he wants, no matter if the person is willing to oblige or not. This internal battle deeply disturbs Raven, as it feels like she doesn't have much left in the tank. As Raven is having her battle within, the Titans are about to begin theirs, as Slade has just made his entrance. The Titans fight back, even though it appears that they are greatly outnumbered.
Oh yeah? You and what army?
You just had to ask, didn't you?
While brave, Slade's army overwhelms Robin, Beast Boy, and Starfire, until they run into Cyborg. Here we get one of the coolest moments in all of Season 4, when Cyborg uses all of the power of Titan Tower to charge a Mega Blast that is aimed right at Slade. And it absolutely knocks his socks off. The Titans take out Slade, and the day is finally saved. Oh wait, never mind, I almost forgot that Slade is basically immortal. As the Titans look in awe, more fiery henchmen appear as Slade is only just getting started. Raven, on the other hand, is still pleading with Trigon to stop all of this, but
I am not the one hurting them. You are. You know what must be done.
But, Father, I don't want to.
You cannot hide from your destiny.
Kind of makes you think, if Raven were to finally say yes, would all of this suffering stop for her friends? As it appears that the Titans are about to be dealt the killing blow,
Stop!
it is suddenly stopped by Raven. She has seen enough. After constant visions, battles, and inner struggle, Raven says no more and gives herself up. She offers to go with Slade, and before the rest of the Titans can have a say in the matter, Raven temporarily incapacitates all of them, leaving just her and Slade. They head back to the Temple of Scath. As they make their way closer to Trigon, something interesting happens.
You think I don't know my own father?
You are merely the portal, an insignificant pawn in Trigon's game.
Then I guess we have that in common. And once he gets what he wants, you'll be insignificant too.
Shut your mouth! Get off me! Do as I command!
It seems that Raven's darker side is taking over slowly but surely. But before we can see that side in action, she spares him and makes her way through the old library. Meanwhile, the Titans wake up and track down Raven's location. Despite being kicked to the curb, Slade approaches Trigon about their deal. But here's the thing about this deal. There's a slight technicality.
Payment? For what? The gem returns of her own free will. You did not deliver her. I did.
We had a deal. I held up my part of the bargain.
This would make Slade's payment for his contributions null and void. Ironically enough, Slade retaliates by using the powers that Trigon granted him. But of course, you can't bite the hand that feeds you.
I granted you these powers, and I can take them away!
As unfortunate of an end that it would be for Slade here, he is simply a victim of an old saying: never make a deal with the devil. As Raven approaches the center of the temple, the moon is moments away from full eclipse. The final hour is here, and Trigon is ready to conquer. But of course, the Titans arrive just in the nick of time to convince Raven to snap out of this. As we've seen ever since the beginning of Teen Titans, Raven has been battling the evil inside of her since birth, whether it be through meditation, fighting crime, or hanging out with her friends. But as much as she's tried to suppress it, it keeps re-emerging, and now in the final hour has emerged in its prime form. Raven can no longer run away from what she was born to do, fulfill her destiny. However, the Titans think otherwise. I mean, just think about it. How do we really know that this is her destiny and not some esoteric mumbo jumbo her dad was spewing just so he could fulfill his selfish desires? Trigon is a literal deadbeat who's waited 15 plus years just to speak to Raven, and now all of a sudden Raven owes him the destruction of the universe? I mean, like, did he finally show up with the interdimensional milk that he promised her he would get? Like the reasons aren't reasoning. But I think what the Titans are trying to hit home with Raven here is, what has Trigon ever done for you besides torment, attack, and allow sexual harassment towards you? What makes you feel like you owe him anything? At the end of the day, the Titans have been Raven's biggest supporters, and they've never left her side, unlike her father. To them, destiny is something you play on Xbox. It's not something that has to be fulfilled because he told you so. As hard as it is for her to realize that, at least for this moment, the last bit of hope that Raven may have had is shown here. But unfortunately, that's all it is. Just a moment. Raven barricades herself from the rest of the Titans, and as they try valiantly to get her back, Raven makes her way to the top of the stairs and commences the ritual. The marks that she tried to hide are now the same ones used to create the portal. As it opens, the roaring lion makes his entrance.
The earth is mine!
Daddy is back. The End Part 1 literally marked the beginning of the end. At the start of it, it was made known that Raven had already given up hope trying to stop the prophecy. She basically was going through the motions waiting for the next phase to happen. On the other hand, however, I really did appreciate how this episode opened up Raven's character quite a bit. While it was funny to see her make diabolical pancakes, to know why she was doing all of these nice gestures was bittersweet. It kind of reminded me of that one episode of SpongeBob when he ate that explosive pie. So Squidward hung out with him for the entire episode because he knew that he essentially was a ticking time bomb. However, we still have the biggest question that has yet to be answered. What deal was made between Trigon and Slade that basically kickstarted all of this? If Slade wasn't dead before, he seemingly was killed here, so I don't think we'll get that answer. So now that Trigon has stepped foot on Earth, what happens next? Well, in part 2 of The End, we pick up where we left off. Trigon emerges from the portal, but before I go any further, it's important to note that Trigon in other stories has been given many different appearances in look and in size. Just his arm alone completely fills the entire room before his whole body appears. As we see this play out from the Titans' perspective, it symbolizes how this problem is far bigger than the Titans could have imagined. No time is wasted here, as Trigon's first order of business is to finish what he started.
The prophecy has been fulfilled.
Despite the concussive blast of his roar, the person to have seemingly survived is Robin. He picks himself up from the rubble and surveys the now barren wasteland that was Jump City. I can't help but to reminisce on what Slade had said earlier about all of this.
Skies will burn, flesh will become stone, the sun will set on your world, never to rise again.
Looking back at it, Slade knew the outcome all along. Something grabs Robin's attention, and lo and behold, it's Raven. But it's not the Raven he was expecting. It flies away, but Robin is somehow drawn to it and follows. The chase takes him through the city until Raven flies up a tall building, in which Robin proceeds to climb it. I just want to say, I think it's really cool to see how easily Robin climbs this building considering his former profession before joining Batman. But anywho, once Robin reaches the top of the building, the Raven is nowhere to be found, ending his pursuit before he can turn back.
I got you!
Cyborg is there just in time, and the rest of the Titans are reunited. As they all look over the remains of the city they once swore to protect, they all wonder how they managed to survive. Here Robin gives an interesting account on what Raven said.
Back at the tower, when Raven knocked us out, the last thing I heard was her voice. It said, "Be safe." She did something that protected us from Trigon.
Now this is important because it gives us a look into Raven's state of mind currently. We all know that Raven is conflicted and is being pulled from both ends here. When Trigon let out that roar that destroyed the entire Earth, there was a protective shield that was over the Titans, which was Raven's. If you take into account that she told Robin to be safe.
Goodbye. Be safe.
This shows that she's not fully committed to her destiny. Otherwise, she would have called it a day and allowed her father to turn the Titans into stone corpses. Although it seems like there's no hope here, something tells me that Raven hasn't fully given up, and that's what matters here. If Raven hasn't given up hope, then neither will the Titans, and they're gonna keep fighting.
For Raven.
For Raven.
For Raven.
For Raven.
That was strange. It appears she gave the Titans more than just a shield. She gave all of them a bit of her power, possibly to fight Trigon. I guess Raven has more hope than we thought. We are then brought to Trigon, who is sitting on a throne, but not just any throne. He is literally sitting on Titan Tower, adding insult to injury. With each passing moment, he grows bigger and stronger, but the Titans arrive to put a stop to that. Starfire attacks high, Robin attacks low, and Cyborg releases a barrage of missiles to even it out. This attack clearly wasn't meant to hurt Trigon, just meant to get his attention, as the real weapon they have is Raven's power. Now, here's the thing about Raven's power as Starfire describes it.
I have used Raven's powers once before. They are controlled by emotions. The more we feel, the more energy is released.
In other words, get angry.
With that said, the Titans unite together, combining Raven's power. Their bodies emit a white aura, and with an Azarath Metreon Zinthos, a Kamehameha-like blast is sent hurling towards Trigon. The blast hits him straight in the chest, sending shockwaves throughout his whole body. Or should I say, what we perceive to be shockwaves is merely a tickle, as he just laughs it off. Trigon releases a blast of his own and knocks the Titans to another area, like it's Injustice, Gods Among Us. Of all places they could land, they land in the place where the chaos began. Even with Raven's power, the Titans realize that it's not enough to stop Trigon. They need Raven, even though Raven is nowhere to be found. As Robin says,
"It just doesn't feel like Raven's really gone."
That's because she isn't.
Slade. Slade once again cheats death. But before he can give some profound explanation or witty remark, the Titans already have had it up to here. They're not having any of it. They put it on him quickly, but as if things couldn't get stranger, Slade doesn't defend himself at all, as he's not there to fight. He's here to help the Titans. Now, you would think that the Titans would be shocked to hear this, but like I said, they have no time for games and are about to put the pause on him again. But before they do, Slade reveals that he's not offering his services because he wants to right his wrongs. He's doing so because, well, it benefits him. I gotta give him credit for keeping it real. All jokes aside, even someone like Slade wouldn't wish a fate like this on his worst enemy. The Titans let their guard down and actually hear Slade out.
Raven has fulfilled the prophecy of her birth. That part of her existence is complete, but another part still remains, for the moment.
Slade seems to know more about Raven's nature than the Titans do. On one hand, he knows where she is, but on the other, he can't do it alone as he knows the path ahead is dangerous. What the Titans don't understand though are a couple things. One, they can't do this without Slade's help. And two, they all can't go together for this very reason.
You fail to realize Trigon is all-seeing. His mind can be at any place, at any time. For us to succeed, Trigon's attention must be occupied.
Someone goes with Slade while the others distract and hold off Trigon. If done successfully, they might pull this off. Out of all the Titans, Robin offers to go with Slade, which speaks volumes. Despite all of the hatred, all of the battles, and all of the hurt, Robin puts all of that aside, even if it means only a slither of a chance they can save Raven. That is the true heart of a hero. Before they go, Slade gives the other Titans something that may help their fight with Trigon. The Ring of Azar. A ring made from the same order that imprisoned Trigon now belongs to the Titans. How would Slade have possession of this ring? Not sure. Once the Titans say their goodbyes, Slade and Robin finally descend down into the depths of the temple. After some time walking, they come across a tall, ominous door that's marked with the Scath symbol.
Before we continue, a warning. If we succeed, I can't guarantee you'll like what you find.
I'll take my chances.
Robin at this point has gone too far to turn back now. They both open the door and come across a canyon filled with lava with a boat sitting at the bottom. Looks like they're gonna have to Super Mario Sunshine their way through. But meanwhile, the rest of the Titans are off to distract Trigon. What better way to keep Trigon's mind occupied than to literally occupy the space in it, Ant-Man style. With Beast Boy's inward attack and Cyborg's blast, not only do they receive Trigon's undivided attention, but they also receive his wrath. With a single breath, Trigon with ease is unable to harm the Titans as the Ring of Azar protects them from his attacks.
You carry a Ring of Azar, no doubt a relic from a former minion.
For as ruthless and maniacal as Trigon may be, one thing he is not is stupid. Trigon knows he can no longer harm the Titans as long as they have the ring, so he has a plan. Using his powers, Trigon makes clones of Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Starfire. But these just aren't any clones. These are darker versions that are stripped of color and have piercing red eyes. How Trigon sees it, if he can't beat the Titans, then the next best thing is to make them beat each other. Wait, what? Evil Cyborg initiates the fight with a punch, and the evil clones follow along. We then switch back to Slade and Robin, who are making their way through the lava. Robin doesn't trust Slade as far as he can throw him, and the feelings are mutual. But with what happens next, that trust is put to the test quickly. The same fiery henchmen that kicked Slade to the curb and gave Robin a hard time are there to stop them in their tracks. Robin uses his signature staff to take out some of the henchmen, while Slade uses a similar weapon to take out some as well. One fiery beast almost gets the best of Slade, but Robin is there to save him. For as polar opposites that they are, here they are like mirror images of each other. While working together, they absolutely clean house with the level of offense that they create. Just when it seems like there are no enemies left, a fiery beast is able to get a hit on Slade before it is taken out by Robin. This hit would prove to be vital as we get a look at Slade that we've never seen before. What on earth is going on here? Is Slade even human at this point? Was he ever human to begin with? Before they can move any further, Robin wants some answers. Being that Slade doesn't have any options left, he finally shares his side in all of this. It's about time we got some dang answers.
It seems my luck with apprentices is most unfortunate. Terra's betrayal should have been my demise.
Just as it seemed he was going to spend all of eternity with Epstein, Slade got bailed out.
Heed my command, and I will return what you have lost.
It was a simple arrangement, actually. Do a few chores and I get back my flesh and blood. And I must admit, the fringe benefits were most enjoyable.
In some sick way, yeah, Slade got cheated by Trigon, but he also got more than what he bargained for. As Slade puts it here,
never make a deal with an interdimensional demon without a little protection.
As that's happening, the other Titans are still fighting their evil clones, and I would say it's pretty 50-50. The thing about these evil clones is they're not just carbon copies of the Titans, they're the product of the Titans' deepest and darkest insecurities come to life. Trigon didn't make them just to be a fork in the road, he made them to be real threats. They'll say the most dastardly things because they know it cuts deep and gives them an edge in the fight.
Go ahead, run crying home to mommy. Oh, that's right, you don't have a mommy.
You remind me of our sister. I will take that as a compliment. Realize, with you gone, Robin will be all mine.
What's the matter? Had enough? No wonder Terra dumped you. Did I hurt your feelings?
If the Titans collectively want to win this battle, they can't win through conventional means. They're gonna have to think outside the box. Meanwhile, as Slade and Robin explore deeper into the depths of the underworld, they stop at a crossroads. For as cool as it was to see them on the same page for a bit, this is where the chapter of their book ends.
This doesn't change anything. If I ever see you again,
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Slade takes his path to retrieve what's been taken from him, while Robin takes his, which seems to lead him into what looks like the 9th circle of hell. Of course, as Robin gets closer to his destination, he is halted by Trigon's henchmen. He turns his Birthmark into a sword and quickly handles all of them. All that is left is what's ahead. He heads to what resembles the church that Raven seeked refuge at in the Birthmark episode, but it looks like it's seen better days. Something, or perhaps someone, hides in the shadows of the building. Robin quickly pursues this mysterious figure and discovers that they have a white cloak. The last person to be seen with the white cloak was Raven's mother, so is it her?
Who are you?
We are then left on this cliffhanger as the episode ends. Now, part 2 of The End is an episode that brings the best out of the characters involved, while also bringing out different sides of them that we've never seen before. Which brings me to the biggest example of this, which is Slade. Slade throughout the series has been known to be the main villain of the story, the mastermind that always seemed to be in control. What made him so interesting was how mysterious he was. Anytime it seemed like the Titans cracked the code and finally defeated him, he was always 3 steps ahead of them. I would watch these episodes as a kid and think, are you kidding me? They still ain't get him yet? Like, does he even have a weakness? Well, here Slade goes from unstoppable mastermind to powerless servant who got played by the devil. And I just want to say, for the record, am I the only one who thought Slade was a black dude, like watching him as a kid? I mean, I don't know if it's maybe the shade of the mask looking more brown than it did orange and the deep voice, but I always thought I don't know, I just thought he was like related to Cyborg or something. I think that's just me though. But anywho, funny enough, Slade's situation reminds me of another villain who had a fall from grace before.
You are strong, child, but I am beyond strength. I am the end.
The Lich. The Lich was an all-powerful cosmic being that sought to destroy the land of U and life itself. Once his plans were foiled, he became this decrepit corpse who lost all power and purpose. When I say Slade was stripped of power, he literally was stripped of it from the bone. The irony here is that Slade knows all too well what it's like to have servants. He also knows how to manipulate them to his advantage. Trigon making him an apprentice and ultimately playing him is karma at its finest. The biggest dog in the yard looked like a pup standing next to Cerberus. I can't say I feel sorry for him, but I will say it will be interesting to see if he can retrieve what's been taken from him. Robin, as we know, is a character that is about principle and has a strong moral code. There isn't a single time where Robin gives up hope or stops fighting despite things looking very dark. Even with him doing something as questionable as teaming up with Slade, that didn't harm his ethics in any way, and here's why. Even though Slade has been the Joker to his Batman and has tormented him at every chance possible, Robin knew he had to set aside his personal feelings for Slade to fulfill a bigger purpose. If that meant teaming up and traveling down the deepest, darkest corners of hell, then so be it. I mean, if the fate of the world depended on it, would you get back with your ex? Didn't think so. And let's be real, seeing Slade and Robin back to back fighting off hordes of enemies was awesome to see. Despite how opposite of a pairing they are, they actually have more in common than they're willing to admit. And it really makes you think, despite the short time he spent as an apprentice, how much did Robin really learn from Slade? I think the biggest change from prior episodes though that I appreciate is the attention that is taken off of Raven for a bit. Of course, everything that the Titans and Slade are doing is for Raven. If Raven's story is a fight against evil in order to prevent the destruction of the world, then the Titan's story is a fight alongside evil in order to save the world. Funny how things work out like that. But no matter how many detours we take or other stories we explore, this is still Raven's to tell and ultimately finish. Which now brings us to the final episode of this story, The End. Part 3. Now, with the end part 3, you know we are at the finish line of this story when the episode starts with a recap. Here we see moments throughout Raven's story that we talked about that were pivotal to getting us to where we are at now. Which right now, the Titans still have no answer for their evil clones. There are moments where they land a good punch here or counter a move there, but the clones still overpower them in every way. No one is enjoying the sight of this more than Trigon, as he sits on his throne with a front row seat. Now, I gotta give the Titans credit here. They have been fighting their clones for probably no less than an hour, and it's been an absolute dogfight. But it's important not to forget why they're even putting themselves through this in the first place. The Titans are hoping that by distracting Trigon, his attention will be taken off the real focus, which is Robin finding Raven. For some strange reason though, the Titans make the crucial mistake of revealing this plan out loud.
We must keep the Trigon occupied.
As long as those all-seeing eyes are looking at us, he won't go looking for Robin.
No!
Which the clones are able to hear. Evil Starfire then proceeds to fly towards Trigon to share this news. This is bad news for the Titans because if she is able to tell Trigon their plan, then this operation completely falls apart. But I think the Titans may be too late.
They are trying to distract you so.
I know.
Ooh. Ouch. Trigon knew all along about the Titans' little scheme. I don't think the Titans truly know what they're up against, which might be why they've been so brave. Earlier, we went over some of the special powers that Trigon holds, but we haven't seen a fraction of what he's capable of yet. But I think the Titans may finally get a first-hand look. But before they do, we are then brought back to where the last episode ended, which was with Raven. This Raven obviously appears to be younger, but more importantly, she seems to not recognize Robin. If anything, the sight of Robin frightens her, which causes her to flee from him. Robin chases after her as she flees deeper into the crevices of the underworld. Just as Robin gets close, Raven shuts him down and flees again. Eventually though, Raven has nowhere left to run and Robin approaches her one last time.
You don't need to be afraid anymore. I can help you, but you have to let me.
This time with full reassurance that he can help her. Here is where part of the Titans' plan is complete. In other places, Slade is completing his plan as he travels further down the path. He comes across a scath door that is guarded by who seems to be the CEO of Hot Topic. All jokes aside, this guard is no pushover and lets Slade know quickly that he's not getting past this door.
But it's not like I have anything left to lose.
Meanwhile, the Titans are still in a dogfight with their evil clones, and from what it looks like, the Titans may be done for. They've been fighting this battle off of sheer willpower, but now it's time to change it up.
Switch!
Starfire switches to evil Cyborg, Cyborg switches to evil Beast Boy, and Beast Boy switches to evil Starfire. With this strategy, they not only get the upper hand on their clones, but they finally put them to an end. The battle is won. A frustrated Trigon lowers his hand and takes a swipe at the Titans, except this strike wasn't meant for them. The Titans flee the scene. Meanwhile, Robin and Raven are traversing through the underworld. Robin sees this as the perfect time to tell Raven a story. The thing here though is the story that Robin is going to tell Raven is a story she should know very well.
This is the story of Raven. She was my very good friend, and she was very brave. Together we fought evil. We beat monsters and villains, and we kept our city safe. But even though she was doing good, Raven was always afraid that deep down inside, she was bad. See, from the day she was born, people told her that someday, something terrible was going to happen.
But before Robin can finish, Trigon's fiery henchman spoils the moment. putting them in danger. As Robin holds on for dear life, Raven loses her grip, seemingly falling to her doom. Well, that's what I would have said if Robin wasn't who we know him to be. Robin not only saves her, but it's revealed that Raven actually remembers who she is.
I can see it. Bits and pieces. You, our friends, my father. Like it was a dream, a nightmare. Whatever it was, it's over.
Regardless though, in this very moment, she still doesn't have enough hope to defeat her father. Thankfully, where Raven lacks hope, Robin has enough for the both of them. Meanwhile, Slade is still battling the Hot Topic CEO. I mean, it's not hard to see why they chose this guy to guard the door. Just as it seems like he's about to land the killing blow, Slade uses his quick wits to toss him into the lava. As quickly as he was tossed in, the guard emerges from the lava and is ready for
Round 2. Fight!
Slade is getting the absolute belt, but somehow he's able to hold his own as well. Slade seems to be on his last legs, and as we've seen, he is at a clear physical disadvantage. But as we've come to know Slade, he is always 3 steps ahead.
Finish him!
Not such a nice guy myself.
Deathstroke wins. Fatality.
Back on the surface, the rest of the Titans are being chased by the fiery henchmen until they are pinned down on the ground, just as it seems like they're about to land a hit. Robin arrives just in time with Raven, but being that this is their first time seeing her, the sight of a young Raven leaves them confused. As all of the Titans are reuniting, Trigon is beginning his multi-dimensional invasion across all living worlds.
Go forth and conquer. One by one worlds shall fall, until every being in this entire dimension bows down to worship Trigon the Terrible!
Things are starting to get sticky real quick. Now, we know that the Titans are about to fight Trigon here, but it's important to understand the factors that are at play here. While the Titans were game planning, fighting, and finding Raven, Trigon has been growing in size and power this entire time, which probably means he is at peak strength now. While Trigon seems to be at peak strength, Raven in her kid form seems to have none at all, which is bad news for everyone because Raven is their only hope. The saving grace in all of this though is the fact that they still have the Ring of Azar. If they can use that as protection while also attacking Trigon, then they can actually put up a decent fight against them and possibly...
Oh, crud.
Welp y'all, Earth is officially cooked. But no, seriously, Trigon is in peak form, the Ring of Azar is broken, and Raven is powerless. All odds are stacked against the Titans here. This is their last chance.
This is your story, Raven, and I'm not sure what happens next. I know it seems hopeless, but I believe that when the time is right, you will know what to do.
All or nothing, together. Trigon catches wind of their location, and the Titans are on the move. In one move, the Titans are restrained by Trigon, and he's about to end this battle once and for all. Until... Slade comes from behind and attacks Trigon, which now makes this an even fight. There's only one thing left to say now.
Titans, go!
Energy blasts are shot, ears are bitten into, and gadgets are thrown. Raven sees all of this from a distance in complete disbelief. For the first time in her life, Trigon doesn't look so big and bad. He actually can bleed. And as they say, if it can bleed, you can kill it. Trigon's patience, though, has run out. With one stroke of a beam, Trigon wipes out all of the Titans, including Slade, leaving them unconscious. All that is left is Raven. As we've seen with Arella and Slade, once Trigon gets what he wants from you, you're pretty much dead to him. Here, even with his own daughter, his own flesh and blood, it changes nothing. Raven is now dead to him, and so he lands the death blow.
On this day, the anniversary of my birth, something is supposed to happen. Something very bad. That's why I didn't want to celebrate.
Mother, I'm afraid. You forever had the love of your people, Raven.
You may not like your birthday, but we're all glad you were born.
Thank you, friends.
So, we really are friends?
I believe that when the time is right, you will know what to do. And that's why we're going to keep fighting. For Raven.
For Raven.
For Raven.
For Raven.
Raven survives. But how? I don't even think she knows. This doesn't faze Trigon in the slightest. As he sees it, this is merely a fraction of the power that he's allowing her to have just to give her false hope. But here, he has no idea what his own daughter is truly made of. Just as Robin said, when it matters most,
You may have created me, but you were never my father.
Raven will find herself.
Rich, insignificant.
Fathers are kind. Fathers protect you. Fathers raise you. I was protected by the monks of Azarath. I was raised by my friends. They are my family. This is my home, and you are not welcome here. Azarath Metreon Xantha!
As Raven descends from the sky, something about her is different. She seems rejuvenated and confident in herself. I mean, is this really Raven? Well, this is still the Raven we all know and love. It's just, she has a little bit of extra swagger to her now.
Somebody believed.
Welcome back.
Being that the world is now saved, the Titans are back to their usual shenanigans of making breakfast and being stupid. Meanwhile, Raven approaches Robin, wondering if Slade escaped. More importantly though, Raven questions Robin and wonders how does he do it? When the chips are down and there seems to be no glimpse of hope in sight, how does he remain hopeful? Well, Robin answers this in an extremely profound way.
Because of you. You don't realize it, Raven, but you're actually the most hopeful person I've ever met. From the day you were born, they said you were evil, that you were created to do unspeakable things. But you wished for more. You dared to hope that you could be a hero.
So, what do you do when your story doesn't end? Well, if you're Raven, you just keep writing more chapters. Lucky for her, she finally gets to write those chapters all by herself, with her friends there to see it. Now, where do I even start? Well, for one, if you got to the point of this essay, please go seek therapy, because we touched on some dark, heavy, disturbing content. But honestly, I thank you for being here along the whole way. I mean, I really do appreciate it. Part 3 of The End was exactly what it needed to be as far as a conclusion to season 4. You had your high stakes, being that the world was in danger. You of course had plenty of action-packed fight scenes. And you even had a cliffhanger teasing what maybe could have played out in season 6. For what you could consider their version of the Avengers versus Thanos, this was a finale worthy of Teen Titans. Now, just like me, I'm sure you're still asking yourself, why did Raven appear as a kid in a white cloak? At first, I thought it was random, but once I started to do more research, it actually made complete sense. As I explained earlier, Raven the animal symbolizes wisdom and insight, but they also symbolize death and despair. However, upon further research, ravens also represent transformation and rebirth. Now, if there's any truth to that claim, here's how I interpreted Raven's kid form. Once Trigon entered Earth through Raven, Raven was no longer held captive to her demon side. The side that kept telling her that no matter how much good you do, you will always be a monster. When Robin first laid eyes on her afterwards, her innocence returned. With evil no longer present, the next side that she'd fulfill would be her human side. The side that has taught her that life is meant to be preserved, not destroyed. The side that showed her how a real parent loves their child. Here's the thing about Raven's story though. The concept of it has been told time and time and time again, but that in no way is a bad thing. If the character chose to do evil, seeing their skeletons come out of the closet and seeing how other people would view them is the whole reason we stay for the ride. Kratos is the first character that comes to mind when I think about reconciling with your past and addressing your demons.
Boy, listen close. I'm from a land called Sparta. I made a deal with a god that cost me my soul. I killed many who were deserving, and many who were not.
Funny enough, you want to know what character I think about when it comes to Raven's story specifically? She's a character that knows all too well what it's like to hide your brokenness. Well, that character is Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunter. Now yes, on the surface, Rumi is flashy, eccentric, and outgoing. And of course, Raven is none of those things. But don't get it twisted. Rumi and Raven are two sides of the same coin. Rumi, just like Raven, fights for a good cause, believing that the evil at hand has no place on Earth. Rumi is the beacon of hope that her city and friends gravitate towards. But it's only then when we realize that things aren't so virtuous and clean as they seem. The twist of the movie comes when a greater evil comes in to exploit what Rumi truly is. Just like Raven, it is revealed that Rumi is half human, half demon, which ultimately means she's flawed. Rumi in her demon form is exposed for her friends and the world to see. Nothing but the truth now, nothing but the proof of what she is. Broken. However, it would be when they come to terms with their demons in which they become the strongest version of themselves. What they once concealed, they now revealed, and in doing so, put their greater evils to an end. But crazy enough, there's actually another character that fits Raven's story far better than Rumi's. You. Back in 2023, I made a long form video similar to this one, just not as detailed or refined, as well as a YouTube short. Little did I know that those two videos would create such a strong connection with you guys and create such an intimate and deep conversation. A lot of you shared personal stories about your experiences with sexual abuse, all of those things. If we are to believe that Raven's story arc is an allegory for someone who becomes a victim of sexual abuse and has to live with the impact of it, then I can see why a story like Raven's resonates with you guys so much. When you see Raven, you see yourself. Because you fight every day despite everything and everyone around you telling you not to. You have the most hope out of anyone in your life. You just may not see it yet. Like Raven, surround yourself around friends who will lift you up when you're broken. In the end, you might not be draped in a white cloak or openly singing about your convictions, but I do think you'll be able to move on from those demons and finally live a life that you're proud of. You matter, it wasn't your fault, and God loves you. Birthmark kicked off what would be Raven's journey of revelation, self-discovery, and freedom. The best part about Raven's story though was the journey it took all of us on when we watched it for the first time. As kids, we watched it for the cool and dramatic moments. Now we watch it to better understand what the deeper messages were. The message is now loud and clear. Reveal your demons. Don't conceal them.